Bathurst is everything they say it is, and the reputation it's got. The track is phenomenal, it's fast, it's scary, but it's rewarding if you do get it right. Got to be mindful that it's going to bite.
Racing at Bathurst up here, very daunting. You can't really go past the limits of the track and then come back on the track. You really need to build up to it. At other tracks you can go off, you can come back on, but here you just can't do that. It's a whole nother level. You really need to respect the place.
It's a challenge.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Bathurst, Australia's most famous racing track. It's normally a road that everyday people use, but for a few days a year, they close the road and they let us lunatics go crazy on this track. We're at the start of the track, down the bottom, and we head 3 kilometres up that big hill, all the way up there, race across the top and come down at over 250 kilometres an hour. The fast cars will be doing more like 300 kilometres an hour. BMW is going to have its work cut out. It's only got about 500 horsepower less than some of the monster V8s that are here. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Come with us. So since last time we ran the car at one raceway, to get the car ready for Bathurst, we've had to make a bunch of changes. One raceway is a very short, twisty track. Bathurst is very long, very fast and flowing. So, usual setup changes, springs, rider heights, roll bar adjustment, that kind of stuff happens. Normal nut and bolt check, engine fluid, gearbox fluid, diff fluid, but specific for Bathurst, we've changed the rear diff ratio. We have a much higher top speed, pushing 250 kilometres an hour, so we put a longer diff ratio in it. And then we've changed a little bit of aero on the front of the car to try and help with high-speed understeer. Hopefully, we've got the package right, and it's a good thing. So practice is done. We had 2 really good laps after a red flag start. First flying laps that I had in the car around Bathurst, and got a really good time in. Unfortunately, in qualifying after practice, there was multiple red flags and none of the cars got a good time in. The officials then decided to use our practice times for the start of the race, which means we're starting at a third spot for a race in front of 52 cars, and that should be pretty wild. Right from the start of race one, it was clear that there was going to be two guys right at the front of the field. Adam Poole in his white CV8 Monaro and Adam Garwood in a borrowed silver Monaro from Peter Dixon. Poole, multiple state champion, national champion, lap record holder from all across Australia, and Garwood, who is the current Touring Car Masters champion, effectively a pro driver in a borrowed car. At the end of the first lap, there was a safety car, condensed the field again, and from then on it was a pretty close battle, with Poole eventually becoming the winner.
We managed to start on pole. We didn't qualify. We had an issue in qualifying the category, so we reverted to practice times, which we were lucky we were fastest. So we started on pole, get a reasonable start. I think we lost a couple of places on the start. The good fortune of the motor in my car means we can pass most people on the straight. So we did that and took the victory in race one.
The under 2 litre battle was going to be a great one again, with Kurt McCready in his green Nissan Silvia and Matty Burks in his red Toyota Corolla, the expected leaders for that field. Peter Casado from Queensland in his white Ford Escort was also going to keep up with them, but hadn't been to the track before, so he had a fair bit to learn before he could keep up.
Last year we didn't have the best weekend up at Bathurst. We hurt the engine in qualifying, tried to fix it up, and then ended up crashing out at the first corner. So it was a bit daunting coming up here this year, but we managed to finish our first race on Saturday. Great battle with Kurt McCready.
Eventually, Kurt McCready won race one in front of Matty Burks and Pete. Man, that was wild. Pretty mega race, tried really hard, thrashed the poor little car as much as I could, got a really good start, and then heading up the hill as expected, I got passed by about 8 cars. I wish I could just magically find another 300 horsepower and we'd probably be fine. So we started P3, entered P12 by the turn 2. They just kept coming, but that was cool. After that, we settled into a bit of a rhythm, had a really good battle with Andrew Butcher and Nigel Williams. I reckon that if I can hang around those guys for the rest of the weekend, we might be able to sneak our way into the top 10 in points by the end of race 4, and that would be a massive achievement. Race 2 is our first race on Saturday morning. Gives everybody a bit of a chance to have a breather on Friday night and check their cars over again, understand the track a little bit better. So 2 turbocharged cars inside the top 10, Scott Cook in his blue Nissan Silvia and Chris Brown in his blue Toyota Corolla, both right up the front of the field. But it's the CV8 Monaros of Adam Poole and Adam Garwood again up the front. Luke Rechkumbo in his Holden Senator and Ian McClellan in another CV8 Monaro. Mark Hutton in his VL Walkinshaw, Tony Maloney in his brand new VF Commodore, and Jason House in his beautiful E92 BMW V8 are making up the top 10. Race 2 started out really well for us, racing with some familiar people and some unfamiliar people. Nigel Williams in his red VX Commodore and Matty Burks in his red Toyota Corolla we race with a lot in New South Wales, and they're great. Ashis Rosina and young Royce Lyon in his red BMW E30. I haven't raced with before and they were fantastic. had a great battle. The RX-7 was a bit faster in a straight line, so he'd pass me up and down the hill. I was passing him across the top of the hill and down the bottom in the corners. So we were having a ding-dong, and it was shaping up to be one of the best races I've had. Until lap 4, and then unfortunately everything went absolutely pear-shaped.
Locks up that left front then heading into...
Sorry to jump in, that is an enormous shunt at Salmon Park. There's barely a car width, and that's further up the road. That's Ben Sheedy that's involved, and now the BMW makes contact.
Yeah, so still super disappointed with the next part of the race. As I said, we're having a great battle with Ash and Maddie. We're coming up the hill out of the cutting, which is turn 3, and approaching a sort of 3rd or 4th gear, 100 mile an hour, 180 kilometre an hour blind part of the racetrack. A couple of the guys in the cars immediately in front of us had just had a pretty massive shunt. So Tony Maloney in his brand new VF lost the back coming over the blind right-hander, turn 4 or 5, and backed it into the wall. A reasonably not too bad hit. Any other racetrack in Australia, you probably just wobble it onto the grass. Scotty Cook in his little blue Sylvia drove around him, split-second decision, got away with it. Ben Sheedy, our mate from New South Wales in his VE Commodore, was the next car on the scene. Lost the rear and hit the front of Maloney's car with the side of him, ricocheted back to the other side of the track. Jason House in his white BMW M3 was right behind Sheeds and then drilled Maloney in the side, which meant now there's only a little gap between the two cars for the next group of cars to drive through. Royce Lyon got through okay, Nigel managed to get through okay, but just about stop, and Ash, Maddie and I were the next cars on the scene. I looked up, saw the double yellow flags, went to get out of the throttle, saw Maddie right behind me, tried to sort of find where he was. I didn't want to jump straight out of the throttle and cause another accident. That delay meant that I didn't slow down fast enough. Looked up, saw the accident, jammed on the brake pedal, unfortunately cracked the car sideways, locked the rear brakes, got off the brake so I could straighten it up and drive through the gap. Was still going too fast, got back on the brake. Clipped Maloney's VF with the very back of my car, and that sent me around, and I just cracked Shees as well on the other side. End result was a damaged car. Both sides were out of the race. So after I got out of the car, checked by the fire marshals, had a look at the car, realised it was actually not as bad as I had thought it was in the car. We got towed down the hill to the pits, where the boys got stuck into fixing it straight away, right? We had the back of the car up, we were changing arms, we had to pull the diff out, we were changing wheels, you know, it was all hands on deck. The aim was to try and get the car back for, if not the third race Saturday afternoon, but definitely for the Sunday morning race. Unfortunately, at that point, my day was made even worse again. So we get called to the steward's office. Unfortunately, they've deemed that the accident that we had was avoidable, and therefore our weekend was finished there and then. Unfortunately, that's the sport we play. This was a bad day. We have good ones. This was now a bad one.
We've been living in sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life.
Race 3 was effectively a non-event. Nigel Williams, our friend from New South Wales in his VX Commodore, stalled on the start line, and Royce Lyon just clipped the wheel on wheel and managed to roll the car onto its side in front of 40 other cars. Safety car was called, no laps were run, it was a non-event. Fast forward to Sunday morning and everything is to play for. Both the over 2 litre and under 2 litre guys have scored points through the weekend, and this race effectively will decide who the winner is. Race 4 started off brilliantly. Adam Garwood in the Silver Monaro got the jump and led Adam Poole across the top of the mountain. Poole eventually passed Adam down Conrod using a little bit more grunt, but Adam Garwood sent the thing in the chase and they were swapping positions. Again, up the mountain, Adam Poole passed him, and in trying to keep up, the pro driver had a big crash, taking the front of the Monaro off it, through the dipper, and eventually would DNF. The battle behind that was just as good. Luke Rechkumbo in his Senator and Chris Brown in his Sprinter were having a great battle, very respectful, and for 3 or 4 laps they were very close. Eventually the Sprinter, driven by Chris Brown, got out on top. However, while this was happening, Adam Poole managed to delaminate a tyre and was limping to the finish line. He only won the race by half a second over Chris Brown.
Sunday morning was the money shot for us. We put a new set of tyres on. We were starting at pole position, cold air, cold track. Look, to be honest, I really had a bit of a dip at trying to break the record. Didn't get the start we wanted at all. Got swallowed up by a few cars. We had to battle pretty hard to pass the other Monaro. There was a bit of rubbing, which is a bit foreign to us in our category. Fortunately managed to pull away and set some fast times. We dropped into the 18s, 2-minute 18s, which I was pleased in, but we fell short on the final sort of aim for the weekend. But all in all, we're happy. Kids are happy, it's Easter, they've got chocolate, and all is good.
The under 2 litre battle for race 4 was a ripper. Matty Burks in his red Corolla was just in front of Kurt McCready in his green Sylvia, but in between them was Peter Hennessy in his beautiful yellow E36 M3. Pete was doing a great job at keeping Kurt at bay, and Matt was doing a great job at keeping Pete at bay. We're having a really good battle until Pete Hennessy spun in the chase, and then it was game on. Kurt was able to try and catch up with Matt, and almost got there in the end, but Matt just prevailed with Peter Casado in from Queensland in his white Mark II Escort coming home in 3rd. A great result for his first time at the track.
The 3rd race we ended up winning, so that'll be P1 overall for under 2 litre. And we set a PB. Every single session we went out this weekend, went faster all weekend. Takes a lot to learn this track and to get used to it. So I built up all weekend and ended up with the 229 flat, which I think in this car is pretty respectable. So.